is 7 p.m. and the date is February 12, 2019. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates, the alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Present tonight are members Mr. Ed Baum, Ms. Lisa Carson, Mr. John Goodekonst, Ms. Kay Towsley, and I'm John Golsey, the chair. Also present are zoning administrator Mr. Rick Royce and secretary Mr. Paul Eschenbacher. At this time, I invite you to view a pre-recorded video on the rules and procedures of the board.
The Athens Board of Zoning Appeals operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator or secretary will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or their representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or their representative will offer concluding, summary, or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor shall be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.03b, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.10c, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board makes specific findings of fact, based directly on the particular evidence presented to it, that the standards and conditions imposed in this title, if applicable, have been met by the applicant. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. Not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which variance is sought, one or the other or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens, aggrieved by a decision of the board, may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the board to the applicant. Thank you.
2 cases were on the agendas for tonight. Case number 19-01C, which was a request for conditional use, has been canceled. So we proceed with our second case, which is 1902V, the property 59.5 Pomeroy Road. The board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda please stand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Our case is 19-02V. The property at 59.5 Pomeroy Road. Zone is R1. And Mr. Gelhoff
Yes.
is the appellant. And also D&D Realty Investments. The only question I had for Mr. Eschenbacher was that if you have a rental history for this place?
Yeah. First, I wanted to say that if what his plan does involves absolutely no physical changes to either building. There's a house. If you haven't been out there, there's a house, and there's a accessory structure, a two-bay garage with an apartment above it, and it would not change either one of those. Going back to the rental history, I went back as far as 1983.
Okay.
And it's always been one or the other of these places that has been rented. Usually the owner has lived in 59 and rented out 59.5, but there was even a brief period where the owner lived in 59.5 and rented out the main house. But I couldn't find any records going back as far as 1983 where both were claimed as rental property.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the zoning board, for the code office? No? You may come to the podium, state your name again and your address and your case.
My name is David Galoff. I'm a representative of D&D Realty Investments. And I live personally at 12 Warwick Lane, Athens. And what we are trying to do is rent 59.5 Pomeroy Road. The reason I think that the variance should be granted is that when we bought the property, again, it's zoned for one rental. We changed the rental from the garage to the house and have rented it to the same family since we've owned it. And he's a professor at the University in International Studies, and they've been very wonderful renters. And also during that time frame, my son lived in the garage. It wasn't a rental, but he lived there. So, you know, as far as any kind of traffic problems or excess number of vehicles in the driveway or anything like that, we have, you know, he lived there for over a year and we had absolutely no issues with the renters, with the neighbors, with anybody complaining to me about any kind of issues with my son and with both properties being occupied. My son is now living with his fiancée in Gloucester, and I thought that it would be prudent to make use of the property and rent the garage out to, you know, help us defray our expenses from buying the whole property.
Okay. So 59 has been rented, and
Yes.
the garage is being used as a business use for
Yes, I'm storing
storage?
equipment that I use, like to mow the yard and, you know,
Okay.
do necessary repairs, that kind of stuff.
So you're not getting income from the garage, and it's just
No.
storage for your business? Okay. Any questions for the appellant?
As you heard in the little video, we have to find some practical difficulties or unusual circumstances. So could you provide us some practical difficulties or unusual exceptional circumstances?
In what way? I don't understand.
I don't know. In order for us to grant an exception, there must be something unusual about the property or the house that enables us to say this is exceptional or unusual or needs to be done.
For example, you know, just to give an example, you don't have to rent it.
Well, no, I don't have to.
What is the hardship for you that you have to rent that, aside from financial?
Really none. I mean, it's a financial decision that I'm making to best use the property that I own.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why I'm trying to do that, to help me pay it off in a timely manner and be able to make any necessary improvements that I need to make
to keep both, keep the property, within the city's zoning and, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I understand, but again, to follow up on Mr. Baum's question, the city, the code does not allow 2 units to be rented on the same property. So unless if there is a hardship or a special circumstances or something we can discuss, otherwise we'll be giving more privilege to you than maybe the neighbors, because the neighbors, maybe everybody wants to have maybe 2 or 3 units of rentals in one unit. So that's what we have to discuss we have to determine if there is any hardship or any special circumstances.
Well, as far as I can see, there's no, the property that we own on Pomeroy is unique on the street in that we are really the only ones that have a separate setup like we do. And like I said, I had my son in there and there's been absolutely no problems. It's not an issue of, any issues. I don't know that there's anything unique or special. I can't, this is my first time trying to do this, so I'm trying to figure something out, and I just.
Is it just one driveway?
Yes. And I have a picture looking from the driveway down in if you would like to see it.
So you only have one person in 59 right now?
In 59, I have a family.
Oh, a family.
Husband, wife, and 3 kids.
Okay.
And they have 2 vehicles. And there's plenty of room to park 3 vehicles side by side in that driveway with no problem.
Any other questions from the appellant? You may be seated. Unless there's any discussion, Mr. Baum, would you like to?
I move that that the Board of Zoning Appeals grant a variance to the property at 59.5 Pomeroy Road for a variance from ACC 230401A1 to allow 2 rental units on one property in an R1 zone where 1 rental unit per property is the maximum allowance.
I second.
Okay, Kay, second. Let's go through the findings. Exceptional circumstances. Are there special, exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone?
I don't think so. I hate to say it, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Practical difficulty and undue hardship because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations would result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of the public purposes.
Since there aren't any.
Are we creating any hardship by denying this variance?
I don't think so, because it hasn't been rented up to this point.
Okay. Preservation of equal property rights. If I may just ask one question. When your son was living there, was he paying rent? Okay. Preservation of equal property rights. John? Are we granting more privilege to this piece of property?
Yes.
We would be, yeah.
It would be,
Yes.
okay. Minimum variance, is this the minimum variance?
No.
No.
Absence of detriment. One driveway and 2 cars already there. And not of a general nature.
No.
No. Are we ready to vote?
I think so.
All in favor of granting this variance, please raise your hand. All opposed, I guess. I'm sorry, you don't have your variance. Okay, we have a couple of items of business in here. Disposition of minutes from January 8, 2019. I read it, I didn't find anything, it was very well done. Do we have a motion?
I so move to accept them.
Second, all in favor of approving the minutes of January 8?
Aye.
Okay. And then we need a brave man or woman to raise his or her hand and agree to be the chair for 2019
We want you.
Did I see your hand up?
Not that way.
We all move that you continue on in the
Yes.
august position,
Okay.
and we all second it.
Yes.
One of us.
All in favor? Okay, I'll be honored to serve for one more
Oh,
year.
yay.
Thank you.
One more
Thank
year.
you.
Well, we're adjourned.
Thank you.